Hello, and Tim and I are now here with both Geoff and Jeremy, who are going to be talking to us about their UFC exciting stuff. What's up, guys?
Hey, Mike, how's it going?
Good.
Good. I'm good too. How are you doing?
Good. So last year, obviously, the UFC talk that you were part of, Geoff, was awesome. You choked Lee out on stage.
I did. That was a lot of fun.
So, Jeremy, I think it looks like from your Skype picture you've got a black eye. Is that from Geoff? Are you guys practicing for your talk?
That was from a young gentleman. Our coach comes to our studio twice a week training jiu-jitsu. I went to his gym to do boxing, and one of his young guys popped me with a right hook.
Ooh.
Oh, all right then.
It wasn't that bad. It just, I don't know, he caught the bone a bit, and it blew up.
Ooh. Sounds way more intense than anything I've had to do for a game I've worked on.
I fell onto a crash pad once. That was it.
So what do you guys? What's kind of your plan this year for your talk?
Well, for UFC 2, we basically rewrote the grappling system from the ground up. And the big feature that I wanted to get in was giving the two guys kind of independent control over their fighters. So if you think about it, they're locked into these two-player animations, right? And in UFC 1, one guy, it'd kind of be a race to see who would get to go first. And then whoever kind of input their controller first, they would play a move. And then the other guy would kind of be forced to have to defend that move, so he'd have to react to the fact that he made the move and then defend it. What players really want is that responsive feel of like, okay, one guy's trying to attack to the left, the other guy's trying to attack to the right, and then game logic figures out who wins. So you don't have to be forced into an action by what the other guy's doing. The problem with that is the animation complexity just explodes. The amount of content you need is just ridiculous, and we didn't have the budget to capture that much animation, and we didn't have the manpower to clean it all up. So we had to come up with a procedural solution to that problem, and the talk will basically be going over that semi-procedural solution. It's an interesting one. It kind of runs the spectrum from full procedural to fully animated and everything in between.
Crazy.
Wow.
And my portion of the talk will be about essentially Geoff kind of dropped this bomb in my lap and said, "Hey, Jer, how do you want to do this?" And so we looked at, using procedural animation or actually motion capturing it all, and just breaking down how we came to the decision to definitely use Geoff's tool, and then still dealing with the large amount of data that still came out of this workflow in this game design, and just how managing it and putting it all together from A to Z.
Yeah, Jeremy coined the phrase procedural mocap when we were kind of trying to pitch this to people, and that's a pretty good description of how the whole thing works. Don't want to go into all the details here, but
yeah.
So, Geoff, last year's talk, you talked about some of the pitfalls from the way you guys had done stuff. Did you address any of those? Are you going to address those in this talk this year as well?
We did address a lot of that stuff. I'm a horrible procrastinator, and I haven't actually put together my slides yet, so I don't know what kind of details I'm going to go into on that, but I was thinking of touching on it. One of the big ones was our IK system. I was saying we needed to move that into the physics system so that they weren't fighting each other, and we accomplished it. It turned out to be a lot more complicated than you would think just on the surface, but we pulled it off. It worked, and we got the benefits that we wanted out of it. It introduced a whole other suite of problems, but we resolved those. Overall, better quality, better workflows, but it took quite a bit of work to get there.
Nice.
So now I'm interested in how much of... Is this one of those situations where, because you're building off of UFC 1, obviously, and because you've created so many of the characters and the fighters, that you can sort of continue using that, and then it's just adding the additional tech and systems and stuff like that?
Yeah, for the most part, that's the case, and that's actually part of what drove this procedural mocap technology was... We're sitting in pre-pro, right? We have no mocap time. We've got a library of animations from UFC 1, and I need to sell this to people to A, convince them that it's a good feature, and B, convince people that we can actually pull it off in the time and budget that we have. And so how do you prototype this without being able to go into mocap and grab even a little bit of data, reuse what we have, and try and find a procedural way to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish? And it started off with that. It worked out really well, and we were able to take it all the way through to production.
And as far as like on the animation side, if you remember Lee's talk last year, how he talked about dealing with external development, a lot of the ground game last year we kept in-house. I did a large portion. Dimitri Krupman did a large portion. But with the number of animations, what was required, the number being so large that I had to embrace Lee's like external development, processes. So I worked closely with him, building out the workflow, how we'd go about doing this at the beginning, and it became like just a factory assembly line of packaging this data and sending it. So it did, from what was talked about last year, the problems faced, we definitely addressed those and built on top of that to create this even bigger, larger ground game, this bigger, library of data.
Very cool.
Hey, Mike, one thing from our talk last year, you mentioned the rear naked choke that I did on Lee Dowsett. That's when I was trying to explain the relative IK system that we have in the game.
Yep.
And when I watched the talk back afterwards when I got home, I didn't feel like I really explained that as well as I would have liked to. And that technology is like the foundation for what we built this year. Wouldn't have been possible without it. So in the talk at GDC, I will be going into more technical detail on that system with like nice diagrams and stuff like that, because it is, you really need to understand what it is and how it works in order to be able to talk about what we did this year, because it really was built on top of that technology.
I volunteer Mike as the person that you can do the example on stage.
Yeah, I've been bulking up. Most of it is in my gut. But I think I could probably do the Homer Simpson approach and just wear you down that way.
Right.
The Roy Nelson approach, it works.
Yeah.
I feel a lot of pressure to do some sort of physical comedy in this talk. I don't know. What we're going to do.
Well, something else that I've been enjoying, Geoff, is your weekly UFC action figure animatics.
That was so much fun. I love doing that.
How did you kind of start those as like some previs to sort of explain
No, not at
what
all.
We're thinking of, or it's just been a fun thing?
So I interact with the UFC community, like the UFC game community on the forums, and because we're on like a 2-year cycle, things went dark for a long, long time, right? They're getting no information from EA about the next game, and they're hungry for information. So I'm going on the forums and I'm kind of chatting with them, and one guy is just begging, can we at least just see, can you tell us one new move that's going to be in the game? And as a joke, I posted with the title, first gameplay footage of EA UFC 2, and then I did a little stop-motion video of the little toys doing one new move from the game. And it was done totally as a joke, just thinking, these guys are going to see this headline and think it's real footage from the game, and they're going to see a stop motion, and haha, everybody thinks it's funny. And I was shocked that people actually were super interested in seeing this move, even though it was stop motion. And people asked me if I could keep doing it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I guess. And so every week I would post a stop motion GIF of these toys doing a new move from the game, and I think I ended up doing like 42 weeks of stop motion videos.
That's awesome.
Wow. It was surprisingly popular. I did not expect it to happen, and it kind of turned into my thing for a while.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, obviously we know Geoff, and he's old hat now. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Kind of what's your game dev history and stuff.
So I'm Jeremy Mathiesen, the lead gameplay animator on UFC. I started, maybe 15 years ago at Mainframe Entertainment, working on Reboot and Beast Wars and that kind of thing. I ended up in England for a couple of years at Acclaim. From there, I worked at Next Level Games on Punch-Out, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, then Sleeping Dogs at UFG, Then I was at Radical, worked on Prototype 2 there.
Cool.
I ended up here. And as far as like for this game, I think what got me the job was two things. My friend Lloyd Burr, who recommended me for the job, and I had about 8 years of boxing experience, 3 years kickboxing, and a couple years of no-gi grappling. And then I just had a huge passion for the sport, and my interview was just talking about fights the whole time with Liam Miller, our lead game designer, and Lee Dowsett, our animation director. And it was a perfect fit, perfect marriage, and I've been
That's awesome.
Stoked ever since.
Very, very cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I remember Punch-Out. I remember that was... that game always kind of stands out to me for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, it's like one of the few Nintendo games that was, or Nintendo properties developed outside of Japan. And then I think I remember an article that said it had like zero crunch.
Yeah, the NLG is really good for keeping down their, overtime. They have, how do you call that? There's a word for it. A real work-life balance initiative there, and they really stick to it, and they really take care of their employees. So yes, that's. I left before that finished. I wasn't there for the very end, but I totally believe that that's true.
That's cool. That's very cool.
Man, I love that game. That was such a good reboot of the original.
Definitely.
It was
Yeah.
very, very fun to animate on. There was a lot of good people involved in that.
Yeah, I could see geeking out over some of those characters because some of their tells were obviously so iconic.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it's one of those games that totally is like anticipation all the way through. You know,
A lot of good animators worked on that. It was neat.
very, very cool. So, Jeremy, is this your first GDC, or have you made it down to the down there before?
This will be my first. Yes, I'm looking forward
Awesome.
to a lot of talks. I'm looking forward to doing my talk, obviously, and I'm actually hoping to maybe go do some jiu-jitsu in Seattle while I'm down there too. Sneak out for a couple hours and train somewhere locally around there. So it's
Cool.
all positive.
That's cool.
Very, very cool. Well, yeah, I'm excited to meet you, Jeremy, and excited to see you again, Geoff, and see what you guys have to show off this year. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a Friday night. You guys should be heading home soon, and I hope you have a good time, and look forward to seeing you then.
All right, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks
All
so
right.
much, Mike and Tim. Have a good night.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks. You guys too.